This is the fourth in a series of training videos regarding the new AccountingLink QuickBooks Online. The purpose of the AccountingLink to QuickBooks Online is to prevent you from having to manually enter job-related cost and revenue transactions on both the Corcon side and the QuickBooks side. The AccountingLink to QuickBooks Online will allow information related to bills, subcontract invoices, employee miscellaneous expenses, time cards, and client or prime contract invoices to move from Corcon to QuickBooks. In addition, it also has sync functions which will allow existing records that have already been mapped to be able to update. In addition, once transactions have moved from Corcon to QuickBooks and then payments made or applied in QuickBooks, that payment information can also be imported back to Corcon to show things like bills, sub-invoices, and prime contract invoices as paid or partially paid. To illustrate how this works, I've created a new project and prime contract in Corcon. If we go to the client contract admin, I've also created a new customer, client, or project owner for the prime contract that has not been exported to QuickBooks Online. I've also created a new prime invoice, and that prime invoice includes retainage held. If we go back to the project home and down to procurement, I've also created a new bill. That bill is for a vendor that was just created on the Corcon side, now needs to be created on the QuickBooks Online side. Created a new subcontract. The subcontract does have retainage, so the sub invoice that I created also has retainage held. I've also gone to HR and I've created 6 new labor time cards, and I've created 2 miscellaneous expenses. If we click on those miscellaneous expenses, already marked approved, you'll see that they were both credit card charges on corporate issued credit cards. Now let's open the AccountingLink to QuickBooks Online. The process we're talking about in this training video is the sync and sync log. The sync process has 7 steps. Let's begin the process. The first thing it's asking if we want to export a new customer and sub-customer. This is going to create what you might consider a job on the QuickBooks side. The job is going to be associated with a customer company. QuickBooks calls this a sub-customer because the project and prime contract or job show up under that customer company. So it's going to create a new project and prime contract as a sub-customer. It's going to create a new customer company called Woodland Homes, and we're going to go ahead and click Export Approved Project and Contract. Next, notice it says Export. The export means that it's going to create a new company. This is a vendor called Northeast Quarry Products that's not already in QuickBooks Online. It is going to be exported as a vendor. Because it says export, that means it's going to be a new record added to the QuickBooks Online side of the bridge. Go ahead and click Export Project Directory Company. Next, we have the bills and sub-invoices that are new. If for some reason you did not want one of these to go over, you can uncheck that item before you hit Export Approved Bills, and it will be there ready to export the next time you run the sync process. I'm going to go ahead and export all 3. It's important to note that the sub-invoice does have retainage, and I'll show you what that means in a few minutes. We'll click Export Approved Bills and Sub-Invoices. Next, it's asking us if we want to export the miscellaneous expenses to QuickBooks, and since they're not in QuickBooks yet, we're going to go ahead and add those. Again, both of these transactions are corporate issued credit card transactions, so we'll go ahead and export those. Now it's asking if we want to export the prime invoice or progress billing as a customer invoice in QuickBooks Online. Again, this also has retainage, and we'll show how that's exported in just a few minutes. We'll click Export Approved Prime Invoices again. Now we're up to the Export Corcon Employees to QuickBooks Online Employees. And the employee time cards that we're exporting are for Gordon Hill. So we don't need to export any of these. That would create a new record for each employee on the QuickBooks Online side. I choose not to do that, so we'll click skip. Now we have labor time cards. I'm going to sort this and uncheck all of the ones that don't relate to this particular project. I'm also going to sort by project, and I'm only going to select those labor time cards for the project that we're talking about. However, you can import labor time cards to QuickBooks Online for all projects at one time. Then we'll click Export Approved Time Cards. Had there been a change to a company address or phone number, or to an employee address or phone number, we would have also had the opportunity to sync those records. Again, it's looking for a change either on the CoreCon side or on the QuickBooks side to basic records, in this case companies and employees. Had there been any, it would have asked us if we wanted to sync those records. It would also have told us which side of the bridge the last updates were made. Now that we're done, we can go and look at the sync log. If you open that, you'll see every sync log that you've created so far. And if there are any detailed messages or errors, which there are none, you can export that to Excel if you're not certain what that means, and email that to tech support at corecon.com. They're very good at keeping track of what the error messages mean and can help you out to tell you how to fix that. You also can select the errors only, which we had none, before you export, and then we'll click Home. Now let's switch over to QuickBooks to see what happened. First of all, we go to Customers and Leads and go to Customers, and we'll scroll down. You can see it created a new customer company, and under that company, it created a sub-customer for the project and prime contract. If we open that sub-customer, you'll also see that some of the transactions have already been imported. The one we want to look at here is the prime invoice or customer invoice. If I open that transaction, you'll see that the information was imported by cost code division, in this case. The accounts receivable would show here at the bottom. The retainage receivable, which was backed out of the original revenue, will show under retainage receivable. Again, the entire amount before retainage is recorded as revenue. Let's go back. We'll also notice if we go to expenses and to vendors that a new vendor was added on the QuickBooks side. We posted one bill to that. If we open that up, you'll see the bill that came over. A bill does not have retainage, but if you look at the detail, you can see that it was posted by the division code and the description came over as well. Let's go back again, back to expenses and to vendors. We'll scroll up to the subcontractor, which was Allison Construction, and we'll see that a bill or sub-invoice was posted as a bill to QuickBooks Online. If we open the detail, you'll see that the total cost was recorded by division as we selected in the sync preferences. The retainage was backed out. We'll show as retainage payable or holdback payable. And the difference will show up in QuickBooks Online as accounts payable. Now let's go up to the payroll, and I'm going to scroll down to the employee with the labor time cards. If we pull this down, you can run reports on that particular employee. And although the payroll has not been processed in QuickBooks, the hours were exported. And if we open these, you'll see they were also allocated to the project and prime contract, so that they'll show as job cost once the payroll process has been run in QuickBooks Online. Back to expenses. Under expenses, if we click on expenses and sort by the date, so that the most current date is at the top, we can see that 2 transactions also came over as credit card charges. I'm going to open the 2 transactions just to show you. These were posted to a credit card Visa account. There's another one here. Job cost was recorded at the division level. Notes came in on the description of the transaction and the total amount. Notice it's allocated to both the customer and the sub-customer, which serves as the project and prime contractor job. Back to expenses. Now I've jumped back over to the customer invoices, and I'm going to take the prime invoice that we exported to QuickBooks and receive a payment against that, as if the customer's paying us now. And I'm going to show the entire amount paid and click Save and New. I'm going to do the same thing under Expenses, and we're going to pay the 2 bills that we exported. So now bill payment checks have been recorded for both. When we go back to the Core link to QuickBooks Online, we now have the option to also run the update payment info. I'm going to run that process. And now when I go back to CoreCon and back to Project Home, we'll be able to log in and see that the prime invoice and the bill and the sub invoice will now all show as paid. Back to the CoreCon link to QuickBooks Online.